You know that feeling when you finally get some free time and you tell yourself you're going to relax. Maybe you sit down with a show you've been meaning to watch, or you try to just do nothing for a bit. And then, somehow, you end up feeling worse than before. More restless, more anxious, like relaxing was the wrong choice. This isn't rare. It happens to a lot of people, and it's not because you're doing relaxation wrong. It's because the way your brain processes intentional relaxation is very different from the way it processes the kind of rest you actually need. Most people assume that if they feel tense or overwhelmed, the solution is to stop and relax on purpose. That makes sense logically. You're tired, so you rest. You're stressed, so you unwind. But the brain doesn't always cooperate with that logic. Research on stress and recovery shows that intentional relaxation often backfires because it creates a new kind of pressure. When you tell yourself you need to relax, your brain starts monitoring whether it's working. You're not just resting anymore, you're performing rest. And performance requires effort. This is called paradoxical effort. The more you try to force a state that's supposed to happen naturally, the harder it becomes to reach it. It's the same reason you can't fall asleep when you're trying too hard to fall asleep. The act of trying disrupts the process. So when you sit down and tell yourself this is your time to relax, your brain starts checking in. Am I relaxed yet? Is this working? Why do I still feel tense? And every time you check, you're pulling yourself out of the state you're trying to enter. There's also the issue of what relaxation is supposed to feel like. A lot of people expect it to feel calm, peaceful, maybe even pleasant. But if your nervous system has been running on high alert for days or weeks, dropping into stillness doesn't feel good. It feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels worse than being busy. Studies on the transition from arousal to rest suggest that when your body finally stops moving, it can release a backlog of tension all at once. You might feel jittery. You might feel sad or anxious for no clear reason. Your mind might race. This isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that your system is finally catching up. But because it feels bad, most people assume they're failing at relaxing, so they get frustrated. They scroll on their phone. They start a task. They do anything to avoid that uncomfortable feeling. And the cycle continues. Here's another layer. A lot of people use relaxation as a reward. You tell yourself you'll relax after you finish something, or because you've earned it. But if you're someone who carries guilt about productivity, sitting still can feel like wasting time. Even if no one's watching, even if there's nothing urgent to do, your brain starts whispering that you should be doing something useful. And now you're not just sitting there. You're sitting there and feeling bad about sitting there. That's not rest. That's internal conflict. This is especially common in people who've spent years being told that rest has to be earned, or that downtime is only okay if you've been productive enough. The belief doesn't go away just because you gave yourself permission to stop. It lingers. And it turns what should be neutral time into something charged with judgment. There's also the problem of what you're trying to relax from. If your stress is coming from uncertainty, boredom, or lack of control, sitting still doesn't address any of that. It just gives you more time to think about it. Research on rumination shows that unstructured rest can actually increase negative thinking if your mind doesn't have anything else to focus on. So you end up lying on the couch, telling yourself to relax, while your brain cycles through every unresolved worry you've been avoiding all week. That's not restorative. That's just uncomfortable awareness with no outlet. Think about what happens on a Sunday afternoon. You've finished your tasks. You have no obligations. You sit down to enjoy the free time. But instead of feeling good, you feel strangely empty, maybe even a little depressed. Your mind drifts to work tomorrow, or things you didn't get done, or vague feelings of dissatisfaction you can't quite name. This happens because your brain isn't designed to do nothing. It's designed to solve problems, scan for danger, and keep you moving. When you remove all external structure, it doesn't thank you for the break. It starts creating problems to solve, and those problems are often about you. Another issue is expectation mismatch. You might think relaxing means feeling light and carefree, but for a lot of people, especially those dealing with chronic stress, the first feeling that comes up when they stop is heaviness. It's not new heaviness. It's the weight they've been carrying that they can finally feel because they're not distracted anymore. That weight might be exhaustion. It might be sadness. It might be frustration with how things have been going. And because you weren't expecting to feel that, it seems like the relaxation caused it. But it didn't. It just revealed what was already there. This is one reason why people avoid rest even when they desperately need it. On some level, they know that stopping means feeling things they've been pushing down. So they stay busy. They keep moving. They fill every gap with noise or tasks or scrolling. Not because they don't want to relax, but because they've learned that trying to relax brings discomfort they're not ready to face. There's also a difference between rest and recovery. Rest is stopping. Recovery is what happens when your system feels safe enough to repair itself. And those two things don't always happen at the same time. You can rest without recovering. You can sit still for hours and not feel any better because your nervous system is still on alert. Research on the autonomic nervous system suggests that true recovery happens when your body shifts out of threat mode. But that shift doesn't happen just because you decided to take a break. It happens when your environment, your thoughts, and your physical state all align in a way that tells your brain it's safe to let go. That's why some people feel more rested after a busy day doing something they enjoy than after a quiet day trying to force themselves to relax. The busy day didn't feel like a threat. The quiet day felt like a test they had to pass. This doesn't mean relaxation is bad or that you should avoid it. It means forced relaxation often misses the point. Your brain doesn't recover because you told it to. It recovers when the conditions are right, and those conditions are different for everyone. For some people, rest looks like low-pressure activity, a walk with no destination, a hobby with no goal, something that keeps the body or hands busy while the mind drifts. For others, it's structure, a clear start and end time, a specific thing to focus on that isn't work, but also isn't nothing. The key difference is that these things don't require you to monitor whether they're working. You're not asking yourself, am I relaxed yet? You're just doing something, and your nervous system gets a break from performing. This also explains why people often feel better after being social, even when they thought they were too tired for it. Social interaction, when it's low stakes, gives your brain something to do that isn't self-monitoring. You're responding to someone else. You're outside your own head. That can be more restful than sitting alone trying to force your mind to quiet down. None of this means you're broken, or that you don't know how to take care of yourself. It just means your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's watching for threats. It's scanning for problems. And when you suddenly stop moving, it doesn't interpret that as safety. It interprets it as a chance to catch up on everything you've been ignoring. So if you've ever felt worse after trying to relax, you're not failing. You're not doing it wrong. You're just experiencing what happens when rest is treated like another task to complete. And once you stop expecting it to feel a certain way, it gets a little easier to let it happen on its own terms.